Hi guys, this is Alex from Soul Lifestyle. Today we are working on that sew along part number 2 for M6696. And guys, we made it through the bodice, but this time around we are going to be working on the skirt, the waistband, and also the hem. All right guys, let's get started. So the last time we worked on our bodice and we got our sleeves done, we got our darts done. So we go ahead and put that off to the side. And I want you to grab piece 13 and 16, and that is your skirt. And I want you to go ahead and do your darts, all right? And then in the, if you're wondering which way do I press my darts, in your instructions, they will always tell you which way you are going to press your darts. So, for example, I went ahead and stitched my back darts, and it says to press those towards the center, right? And then the ones in the front, you are going to press those towards the outside. So go ahead and do your darts, and you're going to do those the same way as we did for the bodice. So you are going to start on your widest point. You're going to backstitch, and you are going to leave your threads long at the smallest point, and you are going to tie those by hand. Once you do that, I want you to press your darts. So go ahead and do that for piece 13 and 16. That is your skirt fronts, and you should have 2 pieces, and you should have your skirt back, and that is just 1 piece. Go ahead and do that now. So you got your darts done, right? So now I want you to grab your pockets, and this is always kind of like a fun spot to do something fun for your pocket facings. And I usually like to grab some other fabric and whatnot. And guys, I'm also using a quilting cotton fabric for this because I'm using a denim. So if I cut these out of denim, which you can't, but you're gonna have a little bit of bulk on these. So because you have the pocket, you have the facing, right? So it's just a lot of denim going on. So I just went ahead and cut some quilting cotton. And remember, I changed the contour of my pockets, the pattern piece. It's pattern piece number 14, and it's cut at an angle. I don't want that. I want something a little bit softer, so I made a curve and I drafted this piece. So with that being said, I want you to stitch 5/8 inch seam allowance, and I want you to go ahead and stitch using that border, and then I want you to understitch. So I'm going to go ahead and show you in the machine. Go ahead and stitch in your pockets. All right, so I went ahead and stitched my pocket, and I want to trim this. And I have some curves here, so I definitely want to go ahead and kind of cut in it a little. When I'm doing this, I want to make sure that I don't cut in my stitches. And guys, I'm going to go ahead now and press my pocket towards the inside. So I'm going to go ahead and press my pocket towards the inside, and then I'm going to go ahead and understitch. So let's do that now. So I press my pocket, right? So now what I want to do is I want to understitch. So understitch means that the seam allowance we are going to stitch as close to the edge. We want to stitch the pocket to the seam allowance. So, and we do this just so the pocket always stays towards the inside and it's not, right? It's not peeking out. So go ahead and do that. And guys, do not skip this understitching step. I know that we're also going to top stitch, but it's just one of those things that just, those extra steps that make your clothes look a little nicer. So let's do that now. All right, guys, so we went ahead and understitched our pockets. Now I want you to do some top stitching at the edge of your pockets. And I don't have a top stitching presser foot, but I'm going to use the edge of my presser foot as a guide. So we went ahead and top stitched our pockets. So now I want you to grab piece number 15 and trying to think if, yep, this is the right side. And I want you to stitch in these two together, only the pocket and the pocket facing, okay? And I want you to stitch 5/8 inch seam allowance, and I want you to stitch the pocket facing to the pocket, or in this case, this is piece number 15 and they call it the side front. So go ahead and do that, stitch away, and I'm also going to finish my pockets. Go ahead and do that now. So I'm starting at the outer edge, and again, guys, make sure that when you are doing this, you're only stitching your pockets. Don't stitch your skirt in. That would be bad. Once you do that, I want to make sure that you go ahead and finish that edge. You can do your pinking shears. I am going to use my serger for this. All right, guys, so we got our pocket stitched in and finished, and now I want you to baste your pockets in. So just do some long running stitches at the top and on the side. We are just going to also attach the sides, these front pieces to the back piece of the skirt. So we want to make sure that this does not move around on us. So go ahead and baste your pockets in. Go ahead and do that now. So guys, I basted in my pockets. So now it's time to attach the back of the skirt to the front of the skirt. So with right sides together, and you have 2 notches, and they are somewhere around here. It's actually for this piece. Put that off to the side. So again, you have those 2 notches. In. So raw edge with raw edge. And I want you to do that for the left side in the front, the right front piece of your skirt. And now I want you to stitch 5/8 inch seam allowance. Don't forget the back stitch at the start and at the end. So go ahead and do that for both the right and the left side of your skirt fronts to your backs. Go ahead and do that now. So we got our skirt back attached to our skirt front. Now I want you to grab your bodice, right? And remember those gathers at the bottom, gather it a little bit. And you're gonna grab piece number 9, which is your band. And you have a bunch of notches. If you look at the pattern piece, you have notches, single notches, double notches. You have center backs. You have a bunch of stuff, right? So I want you to match all of those, right? But the biggest thing I want you to pay attention to is I want you, when you put in your band, right? I want you to make sure that those seams are aligned and that also that your darts are aligned, okay? So you're gonna have, right, your 2 notches on your band, and it goes like this, right? And you go on this side, so you're gonna attach your bottom, you're gonna attach your top. Remember I told you guys I left this long because I got a little bit of a wider waist, so I was just going to give myself a little bit of grace and a little bit of buffer. So once I'm doing that, yes, my notches will match, but what I really am looking at is when I'm putting this band in, I want to make sure that those darts from the bodice and the skirt that they match and that my side seams match. Yes, there's a band in between, but I want to make sure that this all matches, right? So that if that's right there, that this is matching on that side. So let's see. So that right there is matching, my darts are matching, right there. And then again, I'm gonna go on this side. So I want you to stitch 5/8 inch seam allowance, and I want you to do that for the top. Start at the bottom, go all the way across. Don't forget the back stitch at the start and at the end. Same thing for the top. Start at the bottom or start at the top. Don't forget the back stitch and stitch 5/8 inch seam allowance all the way to the other end. So if you are trying this on right now, go ahead and baste it. Baste it because, like I mentioned, you want to make sure that all of your darts, all of those side seams are matching. So go ahead and do that now. So I went ahead and stitched in my band, right? My one band. So what am I talking about? Making sure that your seams match. So you see those darts? They line up. You see the side seams? They line up. That's what I'm talking about when I'm saying make sure that things match. This I could probably even match it a little bit closer to, but again, right? Make sure that your side seams match. Make sure that your darts are matching, okay? Really, really, really important. So we went ahead and attached our band and our seams are matching, our darts are matching. Now, I want you to grab this other band and I want you to go ahead and pin at the top. And the reason why I had you attach the first band separately, guys, because that's a great spot to attach it and then see how your dress is fitting, if you need to let it out. And if you need to tighten it in, which I did, I was like, ooh, this is right. I got a little stretch fabric. I can tighten it up a little bit. So I did that. So go ahead and pin your band. Once you pin your band and you stitch it in, you're going to, I'm going to go ahead and pin all of this, and I'm going to show you what we're going to do. So go ahead and pin your band. Same thing. If you're thinking, how am I attaching it, right? The other band is inside. The other band's outside. Guys, and I had told you in my adjustments video that I cut the band. I cut all the entire piece for size 24. And just as I thought, I have some extra, and I have extra on this second band because I just started all the way at the end on this one. But if you're attaching both of these bands at the same time, you want to start in the center, and you definitely want to match center back, right? So center back, and then you had these dots here for that gathering that we have back here that I created a pleat instead of gathers. I started doing gathers, but it just looked like too much, like a bunch of fabric here. And remember, I even decreased the size of the gathers, the size of this pleat. So I'm happy with how much there is there. And again, this is stretch fabric, so I'm getting away with it. But make sure that you mark those two center dots for the gathering, and that's where you should always start that first band, matching that center back, and then the second band, it kind of doesn't really matter. It's just the same length. So once I'm done stitching it in, I'm just going to cut that. So now I want you to stitch 5/8 inch seam allowance just the same way. So you attach that second band, and go ahead and do that now. So I went ahead and stitched my second band in, and I pressed that seam allowance in. And now what I want you to do, I have to grade my seams, right? Because I have 3 seam allowances here. So I'm going to grade my seams. So again, right, when I press all of this, so grade all my seams. And I'm just want to show you, right? That's what I'm going to do. And probably this one I have to cut it all the way as close as possible. So grade my seams. So I'm going to do that all the way down, and then also these seams down here. It's just too much fabric here, right? And I don't want to on any of that bulk. Once you do that, press that seam allowance, and you're going to go ahead and turn it over. And guys, this is another spot in the pattern where it's asking you to slip stitch. You can do that if you want to. I am not. What I'm going to do is I'm going to, of course, turn it over, and I am going to top stitch. And I'm going to top stitch right on that edge. So I'm going to stitch in the ditch, and I want to make sure that I'm catching that, right? So when I turn this over, just make sure that you are catching that, so you stitch right there. So all the way down. So guys, go ahead and grade your seams, or just cut these extra seams, then turn your band inside, and then you can slip stitch if you want to put a little music, watch something, listen to a podcast, or you can go the quick route, which is what I'm going to do, and just top stitch on the outside. Just make sure that it's catching. So if you're going to do that, make sure that you pin, right? And you pin on the outside because you're going to be stitching on the outside, right? And that it's catching back here because you're going to stitch right down there. So go ahead and do that now for your band. All right, guys, so stitch in the ditch, you are essentially stitching right on that seam that we did to attach the band. And if you see, I have a pretty much a stitch in the ditch presser foot. If you don't have one, just line up your presser foot, right? The center of your presser foot with that. If you have a presser foot for stitch in the ditch, it's a great investment to have. It's kind of like the zipper foot. It is invisible zipper foot. It is life-changing. So go ahead and do that for your entire band. So I went ahead and top stitch my band, and I'm going to get it close. See the stitch in the ditch there? It's really close. And this is from the inside, right? You can't see it. So all my seams are enclosed, and it looks actually quite nice. So guys, the next thing that the pattern's asking us to do is to do our hem. And the reason why we do this is when we attach the plackets, the hem is also somewhat encased at the corner. So go ahead and turn up your hem 1.25 inches, and then you're going to turn it in 1/4, and you are going to top stitch. Again, I'm working with denim. I don't want any bulk. I'll probably just serge my my raw edge and then just top stitch on the outside. All right, guys, so this is it for sew along number 2. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed part 2 of the sew along. If you have any questions or comments, go ahead and leave them below. I will go ahead and link the 3rd sew along to this video once I complete it and it's released to this one, so you can keep going. All right, guys, till next time. Bye.